Hey everybody, welcome back to Cheap Comic Collector. This is episode number 93, and we're actually counting down to episode 100, where we're going to start giving stuff away. Um, so subscribe and send me your address as it says in the description of this video, and you will be entered into those giveaways and any future giveaways that we have. So if you've already sent me your address, you're already entered, so you don't need to worry about it. But yeah, do that and you will get stuff in the mail. So today we're doing a What Am I Reading episode, and we're starting off with Green Lantern Corps Convergence from 2015. This was pretty good. It starred, the focus was on Guy Gardner, who I've never really cared that much for as a character, just because, he's usually such a jerk. And but this kind of redeemed him a little bit. It gave him a reason kind of for being how he is, and it's probably the best Guy Gardner story I've ever read. I haven't read like his regular series, so I don't know what that's like. But yeah, I've seen him in Justice League, and occasionally he pops up in Green Lantern, and this is the only time I've ever thought it was a good story with him in it, really. So so it starts out with what you think you're looking at, the Justice League, but it's actually just a bunch of kids playing, and two of them fight, and this is Convergence, so they're trapped under the dome, and Guy Gardner, everybody's lost their power, so Guy Gardner is a coach at this school, and he's in Gotham, and he breaks up the fight, and he has issues. So he's seeing Leslie Tompkins at the Thomas Wayne Memorial Hospital, and Hal Jordan is actually the one who has secretly set that up, and Guy actually blames Hal for his problems, and it gives some backstory to Guy that I didn't know about, and I don't know if this is, because these are alternate versions or whatever. I don't know who's who. It's a little hard to figure out. But he meets up with, he tracks down Carol Ferris, and she tells him to go ask John Stewart, since he's trying to track down Hal Jordan. So he ends up going talking to John Stewart, who is using his engineering degree to raise food in more productive ways while they're trapped under the dome. And he tells him where to find Hal Jordan, and Hal Jordan's kind of lost it. He's still trying to figure out how to save everybody after over a year of being trapped under the dome. He's still trying to contact Oa, and Guy Gardner loses it and starts smashing everything, and then the challenge is issued by the guy that has them trapped under the domes. Where the domes are released, they all get their powers back, but they have to fight somebody. So, and these panels were a little bit interesting, seeing the alternates. There's like a vampire Batman there, and you got Captain Carrot over there in the corner, which I hope he shows up in one of these issues sooner or later. So far, no, he's a no-show. And so anyway, the lantern recharges so they can recharge their rings, but Hal Jordan sucker punches Guy Gardner and won't let him recharge after he smashed all his stuff. And but Guy Gardner decides to be a hero anywhere, grabs a bat and a motorcycle, and off he goes. So that was issue 1. The art is good, the writing is good. It's a fun little series. So issue 2 opens with John Stewart and Hal Jordan battling this guy, who I guess is who they're supposed to battle. It doesn't really make clear who they were supposed to battle. And meanwhile, Guy Gardner's searching for them and fighting monsters. And he runs into his dog shows up, who actually belongs to somebody else. And then he dreams about when he was trapped in the Phantom Zone, and Sinestro and General Zod kind of messed with his mind. And so he meets up with Atlas when he wakes up, that's whose dog that was, or not Atlas, Hercules, I think. I'm sorry. Is it Hercules or yeah, Hercules. So I guess this is supposed to be the Hercules from the DC series. I'm not 100% positive about that. And they challenge each other with a arm wrestling contest, and Guy Gardner wins, so he gets the Hercules' armor, and he goes off to find Hal Jordan and John Stewart, who's got their butts kicked by the bad guy. And he comes in and pretty much saves the day. And then they all recharge their rings, and they go off and they fight the guy and defeat him. And that was pretty much the end. At the end, Guy Gardner punches Hal Jordan, who admits he deserved it, and then they go off to join the big battle, I guess. So it was a fun little series. I enjoyed that one. It wasn't the best one, wasn't the worst one, but it was interesting. It was good. Let's see. I didn't check out who actually was the writer here. And where are the credits? Put the credits at the end. Yeah. All right. So David Galler and Steve Ellis were the writers and pencilers, I guess, and Andy Parks was the inker. I've never heard of any of those people. Sorry, but it was good. It was good. Next up, we have Marvel Adventures featuring Daredevil from 1976, issue number 4. And nice cover. This is a reprint of Daredevil number 25. And it's by Stan Lee and Gene Colan. And inked by Frank Giacoya. And it is the issue that introduces Leapfrog, which is kind of silly, and they admit that. But it's a fun issue. It is great art, great writing. I mean, you can't beat 60s Stan Lee for good comics, man. I mean, just the art is fantastic, the writing is fantastic. By the time you got done with an episode, it felt like you read something instead of it just being a bunch of artwork and not telling much of a story. Just fantastic throughout. There's a Leapfrog in costume, very cool. And I know they just kind of made him into a joke in later issues, but man, look how cool that looks. That's awesome. And just good stuff. This is also the issue that Matt made up his twin brother Mike. So this is Matt Murdock pretending to be his own twin brother Mike, to give himself an alibi from being Daredevil, because while he was missing, Karen Page and Foggy Nelson opened a letter from Spider-Man and learned that at least Spider-Man was claiming he was Daredevil. So interesting stuff, good story, good art, just great, just fantastic stuff. Look at that. I mean, these are just regular panels. and just really just awesome issue. Too bad it's a reprint. And then next up we have Uncle Scrooge, one of my favorite characters. And this is number 188 from 1981. Unfortunately, this is not a good issue of Uncle Scrooge. You got a cover. I forget who the cover artist was. I want to say K. Wright, but I'm not sure. And it's got a gag of Uncle Scrooge using a vice to get the toothpaste out of the tube. So, and the first story is written by Vic Lockman, the artist by K. Wright, and it's a very silly story. Very silly. Uncle Scrooge gets conned, this guy, into thinking this guy is from outer space, and he gets tricked into traveling into outer space to search for treasure, and it's all a plot to get him out of the way so they can con Donald Duck out of the Uncle Scrooge's money. So because Donald Duck is put in charge of the money bin while Uncle Scrooge is off in space. So when he comes back, the bad guys have conned Donald out of the bin, so all that's left is a piggy bank. And it actually sounds better me describing it than it actually reads. It's just very juvenile and very, very, very silly. So Uncle Scrooge goes back in time using Gyro's Gearloose's time tub, which appears in other Vic Lockman stories too, I believe, to fix everything. And that's it. Simple solution, no work needed. It's just very, very on the level of the Beagle Boys stories that appeared in like Beagle Boys versus Uncle Scrooge. Very much that style of writing. And the second story is the same thing. It's called The Mysterious Twisters, and Uncle Scrooge has his army of buckmobiles that transfer money, and there's tornadoes coming down and taking them away. So Scrooge decides to hide away in one of the trucks, and discovers that it's a plot by Emo Eagle, who, it was interesting that he showed up in a Scrooge story, because he's usually in Mickey stories. But again, just very, if I wasn't reviewing this for the channel, I probably wouldn't even have finished reading this issue. But if I hadn't, I would have missed the reprint of the Carl Barks story at the end. So it did finish on a good note, because it reprints a Uncle Scrooge story from Uncle Scrooge number 14 by Carl Barks. And this is a funny story. It's just, unfortunately, the first two stories kind of leave a bad taste in your mouth, so it wasn't as enjoyable as it should have been. This should have been the lead story. But they put it in the back, I guess, because it's a reprint. And so at least there was something good in this issue. And in this story, Uncle Scrooge receives a land deed in a box of cereal. That's good for 1 square inch. It's like a promotional thing, where you buy this cereal box, you get a free land. And he's convinced that it's valuable land, even though it's only 1 square inch, because of a fortune that he found in his coffee bubbles, because he believes in reading coffee bubbles, which I guess are like tea leaves. And anyway, they track down his 1 square inch, and it is unfortunately right over a prairie dog hole. But the prairie dog comes up with oil on his feet, so Uncle Scrooge is convinced there's a big oil field underneath. And so he sends Donald and the nephews across the country buying up boxes of cereal so he can get the rest of the property, so he can develop an oil field. And then when he gets enough of the property to erect 1 oil derrick over his 1 square inch, he realizes he doesn't have a way of telling Donald to stop buying, so he has to go around the country 1 step behind them to track them down and make them stop. So he finally catches up with them, and they're disappointed. Nephews are disappointed because they wanted to see Idaho. And so then they go ahead and he puts up the derrick for oil drilling, and they don't come up with anything. And then I'm not going to give away the gag at the end, but Uncle Scrooge does come out at the end without treasure, and he lost a bunch of money from all the money he spent. So I guess the moral is to not believe fortunes. But it's unusual for Uncle Scrooge to end up on the short end of a deal. So it was good. It was a good story, and that was it. Not a great issue because of the first two stories, but they redeemed it with the Carl Barks reprint a little bit. And then we have Woody Woodpecker. This is issue number 116 from 1971. Got a gag cover of the using a kiddie pool in the winter as an ice skating rink. And apparently this issue was previously owned by Brett Starr. And there's a cow from the Giant Play Farm Animal Collection. And the first story is the only new story in the book. It's The Treasure of Tierra Padre. And Woody Woodpecker and Splinter and Knothood are after a lost Incan treasure. What's the guy's name? Buzzard is accompanying him to try and prove that he's no longer a bad guy. And this giant bird is guarding the peaks, kind of. And she is in love with Buzzard. So she keeps showing up, and he keeps kicking her to the curb. And but they find the treasure. And it's a very quick-paced story. Things change quickly because it's such a short story, I guess. And they find the treasure, and they're trying to get it out. And Buzz does a double cross, and but then the big bird comes along and grabs him to take him back to her love nest. And that's the end of the story. So yeah, they found the treasure, and Buzz gets his just desserts. So the next story is Chilly Willy Rigged Up Rescue. It's reprinted by Popular Demand. That's Sam Popular down at the corner drugstore. And yes, that's an old joke. And but I'm an old guy, so yeah, we've got Chilly Willy and a rescue dog that cannot rescue, and he's lost because he's way off course, and he keeps trying to rescue people that don't need rescuing, and so Chilly Willy fakes an accident so he can warm up with the hot tea that the dog has in his keg, and then the dog is happy because he did a rescue and everything's cool. So Gold Key Comic Club news, and looks like Brett actually filled in the checklist. He had Tom and Jerry, Mickey Mouse, Focus, Wacky Racers, Porky Pig, Roadrunner, and Star Trek. That's Star Trek. That's kind of doesn't belong with that group, but okay. Then the next one was reprinted also. It's the Adult Sitter. Bonus points if you know who Woody Woodpecker's girlfriend's name is. And I know because I read it in the story. But so yeah, his girlfriend convinces him he should stay with this eccentric millionaire and keep him company. And while they're there, a chimpanzee that escaped from the zoo climbs in and takes the place of the millionaire. So they think at first that he's the millionaire until the millionaire comes back in and tells them no, they're all crazy. And so they're chasing the chimpanzee because he stole a briefcase of valuable papers. And then these guys show up and try to grab the briefcase, and they end up getting captured, and all ends well. So, and then there's an Oswald the Rabbit text story, which I did not read, and another Woody Woodpecker reprint. This one has the kids of Woody and Wally fighting in the snow, but they get them to enter a snowman building contest. But then the adults take over and try to one-up each other, and eventually the kids go off on their own to build their own snowmen, and of course they end up winning the contest. And this was interesting. There's a stamp and coin column in here, which I've never seen in a Gold Key comic before. I know there's Golden Age comics used to have a lot of stamp columns and some coin columns, and I've never seen one in a Gold Key comic before. So I thought that was interesting. Can't quite tell if it may just be an advertisement. It does have an address there for a sales unit, but it's all presented as a column. So, and that was it. That was the end of that issue. So it was a good issue. I enjoyed it. Nothing, laugh out loud funny in it, but it was fun to read. So we got Woody Woodpecker, Uncle Scrooge, Marvel Adventures, and Convergence. Favorite would have to be Marvel Adventures featuring Daredevil. I mean, you can't beat Stan Lee, early 60s Stan Lee writing stuff. So, and unfortunately, my least favorite would be the Uncle Scrooge issue, despite it having the Carl Barks reprint in it. The other two stories were just terrible. So, so that's it. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. We do have the 100th episode coming up where we're going to start giving things away again. So if you want to get in on that, send me your address after you subscribe, and you will be automatically entered into any giveaways that we do. Thanks for watching, and we will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be going through some more. We're going to start another short box, I think. I'm going to do like half a short box. I'm not going to do the whole full box, but I'm going to drag out the short boxes a little bit. While I'm waiting for a big shipment of over 600 books to come in. So hopefully we can stretch them out to last until those come in. So thank you for watching. Have a great day, and I really do appreciate you watching. See you tomorrow.